One day, about 6 years ago when I was in my weeblet stage of my otakudom, I was looking for some new or old anime to watch as one does when being absorbed by the medium, when a particular anime caught my eye, Princess Principal. I went in somewhat blind, only understanding that there's a group of girls in London who are working as spies. I've never watched anything spy related before in my life, surprisingly, so I figured I'd be in for a new experience. I got so much more than what I initially signed up for. I was blown away by what was delivered by this random anime that I discovered on a whim. It's a true crime to humanity that Princess Principal went completely unnoticed, so I'm going to be doing my part to bring awareness to this painfully slept on anime. So enough of me blabbering, let's get into why you should watch Princess Principal. Right off the bat, the first episode of the anime gives us the gist of what exactly it is that we're to expect from the series and why. Basically, at the turn of the 20th century, the Kingdom of Albion, which is literally just Great Britain, made huge technological advancements due to the discovery of Cavorite. Cavorite is an anti-gravity substance that can be used to make things weightless. Along with the fact that Albion had a monopoly on this newly discovered substance, they made huge advancements in their military, such as developing an air fleet full of giant airships. However, revolution was spreading throughout and dividing the kingdom, which led it to being divided in half, each half being known as the Kingdom and the Commonwealth. 10 years later, London became the center of a cold war between the halves of the kingdom fought by spies. Enter our lovely group of femme fatales known as Team White Pigeon. These badass ladies work for Control, a Commonwealth-aligned organization of spies that do what they can to prevent the entirety of the kingdom from going to war again. During the first mission that kicks off the anime, we see exactly what these girls are capable of. They were assigned a mission to help a man named Eric Anderson defect from the kingdom to the Commonwealth. As a means of protecting him, they take Eric to a room in the Queen's Mayfair Academy, the school in which the girls are attending, and keep him there until they're ready for the defection. However, Eric refuses to defect unless his little sister Amy is able to defect with him. Agreeing to the terms, Ange and Beatrice go to investigate Amy and learn that she was infected with Cavorite poisoning and is currently bedridden in a hospital, unable to get treatment because of how expensive the operation would end up being. During this, Ange deduces that Eric is actually a double agent working for the kingdom's home office, and that his real objective here is to expose the escape route to the Commonwealth. After this deduction, Dorothy, Chise, and Beatrice infiltrate the kingdom's home office's secret base and capture whoever they can while there. The episode concludes with Ange taking Eric to a secluded park, calls him out on his real goal, and he admits that all of her deductions are true. We learn that the head of the kingdom's home office, the Duke of Normandy, offered to pay for Amy's treatment if Eric was able to fake defecting. Ange shoots the man dead, but not before having him sign a life insurance policy. She hides the body well enough that no one was able to find it for a whole week. While these girls aren't afraid of taking lives if push comes to shove, they aren't heartless. They fully intended to help Amy recover from her Cavorite poisoning, and Ange uses the money received from Eric's life insurance policy to pay for the treatment. So, who exactly are the femme fatales in Team White Pigeon? First off, we have Ange, a self-proclaimed resident of the Black Lizard Planet. She's got some cool gray hair, a seemingly cold-hearted exterior, and is a girl who lies because spies don't tell truths. Next is Dorothy, someone who is almost the exact opposite of Ange. Dorothy is a lot more lighthearted and positive thinking, is a little bit of an alcoholic, and isn't afraid to use her two big assets to butter up guards or other men they encounter on the missions that are in the way. Oddly enough, the princess of the kingdom, Princess Charlotte, is actually a member of Team White Pigeon as well. The princess is a kind-hearted girl who's very talented, popular with the general public, and the queen's favorite. Her goal is to become the new queen and reunite the two halves of the kingdom, and figured that joining the team of enemy spies would help significantly in her goal. The princess's lady-in-waiting, Beatrice, also joined the team when Charlotte joined. Much like the princess, Beatrice is kind but is an incredibly anxious person. She doesn't trust new people that easily though. She has a valuable role in the team with her expertise in machinery and her mechanical voice box that's able to replicate the voice of anybody she's heard speak. Last but not least, we have Chise Todo. Chise is a Japanese girl and is arguably the strongest member of the team in terms of physical capabilities. She was trained as a ninja and has a personality that can only be described as the embodiment of almost every Japanese stereotype known to mankind, but is shockingly ordinary behind the scenes. Honestly, if Princess Principal were a Western IP, I could see there being outrage of Chise being a racist caricature. A clever detail that was included in her character was having trouble adjusting to the ways of Western culture, and the rest of the girls not really understanding Japanese culture as well. A lot of love was put into Chise and her role in the anime. Princess Principal has a style and aesthetic that I absolutely love. If the mention of airships earlier on didn't give it away, Princess Principal is a steampunk anime. Normally, I'm not super into the steampunk aesthetic, I'm way more of a cyberpunk person, but it's subtle enough that it actually adds to the overall style of the anime. In the case of Princess Principal's aesthetics, less was definitely more. While not exactly the most high-budget anime out there, everything is still pretty to look at. Not to mention, the character designs are great as well. They're not at all flashy or overly cutesy as anime can be sometimes, but they're relatively simple and have an air of elegance to them. The school uniform and their spy uniforms are exquisite, and once again, less is more. One standout thing about Princess Principal that intrigued me most was the order of the episodes. The story actually isn't told in order at all except for the last 3 episodes. Episode 1 is Case 13, Episode 2 is Case 1, Episode 6 is Case 18, you get the idea. Theoretically, you could watch all of the episodes in chronological order, but the narrative wouldn't make sense. Even though the anime doesn't tell its story in chronological order, it relies on information given to you in release order, so as a first-time viewer, it probably wouldn't make much sense. It might be a different story if you're rewatching it though. I'm not sure why the writers decided to tell the story out of order, but it works and doesn't feel awkward to sit through it all. After all, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, we're gonna be getting a little bit controversial here. Princess Principal is absolutely a fantastic anime through and through. However, I believe that there is a certain way that this anime should be enjoyed, and that is by watching the English dub of it. Squidward. I know, you're gonna crucify me for even suggesting something as ridiculous as watching an anime in English, but hear me out on this one. The English dub was done by Sentai Filmworks, formerly known as ADV Films, and the ones responsible for the legendary Ghost Stories dub that we all know and love. Sentai Filmworks, and by extension HIDIVE, aren't exactly known for having the best dubs ever. Not to mention, when it comes down to your typical anime noises, they have a tendency to sound a bit awkward. That being said, Sentai Filmworks went beyond the extra mile and gave this dub some proper TLC to give the viewers the most immersive experience possible. Seeing as Princess Principal is set in England, they gave the cast a variety of English accents. They weren't just any whatever English accents like you would hear in typical American media. Sentai Filmworks went as far as to hire a dialect coach to make sure that the accents sounded as authentic as they could possibly be, and added proper British slang where it was appropriate in a script for the dub. Around the time that I first discovered the anime, I did ask an English friend of mine what he thought of the accents, and while there was definitely still a little bit of the Hollywood influence in there, everything was pretty legit. I know this bit here kinda sounds like a trust me bro justification for the English dub, but it's all I got. Just trust me, bro. So that was Sentai Filmworks going the extra mile. Where they went beyond the extra mile was specifically in episode 5, Chisei's chronological introduction to the team of spies, and my personal favorite episode of the anime. In case you were wondering if they gave Chisei an English accent as well, they didn't. She was given a proper Japanese accent. Towards the late middle of the episode, there was a group of Japanese assassins that were there to try and kill her, as well as the princess. Seeing as their business here was to kill, they didn't bother to learn any English, so what Sentai Filmworks opted to do was to leave in the original Japanese voice acting for the assassins, as well as leaving the subtitles in, further adding to the immersion of the English dub. I thought that this was one of the best creative decisions I've seen in a dub, and it was so cool to me when I first watched this, and still is. They also went as far as having Chisei's English voice actor speak Japanese and subtitling her lines for a couple of the times she communicated with them, which was also a great detail to include. If you want to see the scene for yourselves, there is a short clip of the scene on the official Sentai Filmworks YouTube channel. Overall, the Princess Principal dub is incredible, and while there is a very tiny bit of the aforementioned awkward anime noises, it became one of my favorite English dubs of all time, and I truly believe that you'll be doing yourselves a disservice by not watching it in English. I will grovel to make sure that everybody that decides to watch this anime watches it in English. I've been singing this anime's praises this whole time, and as amazing as it is, it's still not without its faults. There are things about it that definitely could have been handled a bit better. The first thing that isn't actually explained all that well is Cavorite. We know what it is, but not how it was discovered or where it came from. Also, bringing this back to the first episode, there was mention of Cavorite poisoning. What exactly does that do? We only know that it affects your vision in some way and gives your eyes a green hue. It was never brought up again and had no fleshing out beyond that. It's mostly details like that they didn't put as much care into. It's really not a big deal in the grand scheme of the story, but it'd be nice to have some more fleshed out lore since the lore is one of Princess Principal's greatest strengths. That being said, none of this was a hindrance to the overall experience and was never that much of a bother. The positives significantly outweigh the negatives, especially when other small details were thought out, such as references to other spy media and other media in general or real life, like Cavorite being taken from a book by H.G. Wells called The First Men in the Moon, or how Princess Charlotte is a direct reference to Princess Charlotte of Wales, both being fourth in line to the throne. Let's also not forget the OP, which I unfortunately can't show here because of copyright, that also adds to the immersive experience of Princess Principal. It's got a lot of swagger that makes you feel cool listening to it, and because it follows some tropes of popular spy-themed music that you all know and love, it makes for a fantastic spy theme. Princess Principal is truly a unique anime, and it's a shame that it's been slept on. I hope that any of you that stop by decides to give it a watch. It's definitely something to write home about. Between the cool style points, great story and characters, an amazing dub, and children getting absolutely decimated, there is an unforgettable experience to be had with Princess Principal. If anyone does go out of their way to watch it, there is a 12-episode season currently out, as well as a sequel series with 6 movies in the works, 2 of which are already out here in North America. The movies so far have been good as well, the first being a little bit on the weaker side story-wise, and the second bringing the series back up to speed. Seeing as Sentai Filmworks acquired the licensing rights of all 6 movies even way before there was even a Japanese release of the first movie, they're still getting dubbed with the same TLC as the original 12-episode run. That about wraps it up for Princess Principal. I don't really have anything else to add, so I'll be leaving you guys here. If anyone does end up watching this anime, or already has, report back to me. I'd like to know what your thoughts on the series are. Who's your favorite character, and what were your favorite moments from the anime? Let me know in the comments below. That's all for now, so until next time, see ya.